welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast. For today, we're going over NFL Week 13. NFL Week 12 is in the past. We are going to leave that there and move on to Week 13. A lot of interesting matchups this week. Can't say I have a lot of strong leans towards a lot of them, or I should say a lot of locks or anything, but I have some pretty semi-decent leans on here, so we were able to talk through it and figure out what to do. So let's go ahead and we'll start off with what is going to be always the first game. Well, actually, they're the Monday night game, so it's actually going to show a different game to start. It usually starts at the Bills. We're actually going to start with the Buccaneers Falcons, one that's a little easier to cover here. They have already played. The Bucs beat them by like 23 points. I don't see much changing here. So I have the Bucs. Let's see. Bucs minus 11. Yeah, they'll probably still cover. The Falcons are just falling apart every game. They're getting worse and worse. So I'll go ahead. I'll take the Bucs to cover here. In regards to over under at 50, I'll probably take the I'll take the over. I think it's going to be an offensive explosion. I think the Bucs can put up like 40 themselves, and the Falcons just need to put up 51. Or so I have to put up 11, and they'll be able to cover that. So I'll take the over, but I'm more or less leaning the Bucs to cover the 11. With that being said, the Falcons can't defend myself. So at that point, you're going to go ahead and you're going to fire every single buck you can. You're going to start Brady. You're going to start Godwin. I know they disappointed last week, but you're going to start Godwin and Evans. You're going to start Gronk. He's an animal since coming back. You're going to start Lenny. Start everyone you can. And on the Falcons side, it's going to be the same usual suspects. You start the GOAT, Cordell Patterson, and that's about it. You can fire up Kyle Pitts if you have him, but don't expect much. He has not been doing since it's been his team. Well, it's technically Cordell's team, but since he's been the only passing option, it has not been the greatest of runs for Kyle Pitts. But there was a lot of high capital, so you have no choice but to start him, especially at tight end. All right, then the next game we had the Cardinals going up against the Bears. We had the Cardinals. They should have Kyler and Hopkins back, which is probably why the line is leaning the way it is. Right now we have the Cardinals as minus 7.5 favorite, so more than a touchdown there. Over under set at 43.5. I don't know how much the Bears are going to score. They've really been struggling, especially with the injuries to Allen Robinson. Justin Fields, I don't know if he's starting or if it's Dalton, and I don't know which one is the better scenario for this game. I'll take the Cardinals to cover. When they're hot, they're hot. So I'll take the Cardinals to cover the 7.5. I guess I'll take the over. Yeah, these teams can cover the over. I'll cover the over 43.5. It's not that high. On a fantasy perspective, you start Kyler, you start Nuke, you start James Conner. And that's probably it. I don't really want to play around with Rondell Moore or Christian Kirk in this game. I kind of feel like Kirk goes off. This feels like a Christian Kirk game. It really does. But I'd just start with the usual suspects. And you can start Zach Ertz. He's been crushing it at tight end. So you can go ahead and start him too. When it comes to the Bears, you're going to start David Montgomery. You're going to start Darnell Mooney, and you're going to call it a day. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Mooney will get targets. He's going to get hyper targeted because no one else is there. And David Montgomery he's a great running back. I thought he was always going to be just okay, but he's better than I anticipated this year. So start Monty, start Mooney, and keep it moving. And then the next game we have probably one of the most exciting games of the week. We have the Los Angeles Chargers going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are 3-point favorites, which is interesting at home. I get it. The over-under set at 50.5. It doesn't matter what that over-under was going to be. I was going to take the over. This is going to be a fucking shootout. It's shootout written all over it. That being said, I will take Mixon's been on a roll. I'll take the Bengals here. But if I'm betting the over, and I'm firing everyone up. I'm starting Eckler for the Chargers. I'm starting Herbert. I'm starting Keenan Allen. I guess you start Mike Williams. This feels like it could be a Mike Williams game. So start Mike Williams. On the Bengals side, you start Jamar Chase, even though he's struggling. You start Joe Mixon for sure. You start Joe Burrow. He just has too many weapons there. You can fire them all up. Fire up everyone you can there, except for the defenses. And then the next game, we have the Vikings going up against the Lions. Over under set at 46.5. Minnesota -7 favorites. It doesn't matter that Dalvin Cook isn't there. It's still the Lions in division. They seem to be showing up a lot more for in division games, but I'll take the Vikings here just because the Vikings really need this win. Yeah, the over under, I'll probably lean the under, but I'll just take the Vikings to win straight up here. In regard to the fantasy, you're going to start Justin Jefferson. You're going to start Alexander Madison. You're going to start you can stream Kirk Cousins, start Adam Thielen, start them all, fire them all up. Tyler Conklin, why not? The Lions, you're going to start Jamal Williams. He's going to lose his mind. And then you start TJ Hawkinson. That's it. You can't trust any other wide receivers. You can't trust Goff. You can't trust anything but the two there. And then the next game we have, and one of my favorite picks here is the Giants versus the Dolphins. I love the Dolphins to cover here, especially with Mike Glennon possibly being the quarterback. I'm all over the Dolphins -4. Over under set at 40.5. I like the under. I think it's going to be a low scoring defensive game, in all honesty. And the Dolphins defense is on a roll right now, and I think they're going to absolutely disintegrate. They're going to tear apart Mike Glennon or even Danny Dimes. Doesn't matter. Either way, they're going to get some turnovers. So I like the Dolphins D here. Their offense, I like Jalen Waddle. He's on a crazy pace right now. I feel like you can get away with streaming Tua if you absolutely have to. He struggles when you get after him, but the Giants aren't necessarily going to. I guess you can start Gaskin. I'm so over Gaskin. He's so hit or miss. It annoys the hell out of me, but this is a matchup where you have to start him. The Giants side, you're going to start Kenny Golladay. I know he didn't do the greatest last week, but he did get targeted. You're going to start, God, if there's still no one there, you can start Evan Ingram because he'll get targeted. And then you start Saquon. I know he's still hurt and trying to fight through it, but you can get away with it this game. And then the next game is another one where it'll be interesting here. We have the Jets going up against the Eagles. Eagles are 7-point favorites. I think that number is a little high as road favorites for the Eagles. So I'll take the Jets to cover here. Over under 45. Oh, God, under. Under. But yeah, I think the Jets are going to cover. That doesn't mean I want to start any of the Jets offensively. Fantasy-wise, you can get away with Elijah Moore, I guess. I can't remember if Slay shadows or not, but if he doesn't, you can get away with Elijah Moore. That's it. I'm not trusting the running back by committee. I'm not trusting any of the other wide receivers there. I'm literally just starting Elijah Moore. Eagle side, you start Jalen Hurts. I know he had a really, really bad game last game, but it is what it is. It's going to happen. It's fantasy football. You fire him back up. The way to get back into it is by playing the Jets. So fire up Devontae Smith, fire up Jalen Hurts, fire up Dallas Goedert. He should go wild. And you run all over the Jets. So fire up whoever's healthy back there. There's so many injuries in the backfield for the Eagles. I don't know who's coming back. If Jordan Howard's going to actually play, if Miles Sanders is going to play, whoever is starting, you fire them up because you run all over the Jets. So just keep an eye out on that injury report. And then the next game, we get the Colts versus the Texans. This might be another one of my locks for the Colts to cover the 10-point spread here. Jonathan Taylor. Enough said. That's the reason I'm going to take the Colts to cover 45.5. I don't mind. I think that the Colts might score 45 points themselves, like Jonathan Taylor might. So I don't mind the over whatsoever. Yes, you're going to start JTT. You're going to start Michael Pittman. You're going to start TUI Houston and DFS. I probably wouldn't do it season long if your season's on the line, but TUI goes crazy against Houston every single game. So why not? Throw them in there in one DFS lineup, try to save some money, see what you can do. And you can start Wentz. I don't know if Wentz and Taylor are going to go off. Either he's just going to run all over them or it's going to be a Wentz passing all over the place. I'm leaning more Wentz in all honesty, but you never sit JTT, so you start him. Texans wise, Tyrod always has rushing upside. Brandon Cooks is good. That's it. I don't want to start Tyrod, but if you don't have any other choices, you could do a lot worse streaming. So you can stream Tyrod in a pinch, and you could start Brandon Cooks. I mean, he's their only good target. Why not? Don't play around with that running back. Don't play around with Sexy Rexy. Don't play around with David Johnson. I want no part of any of that. Just stay away. Then the next game, we have the Washington football team going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. We have the Raiders as 1-point favorites, and I like the Raiders here. I think they're gonna cover. It's only 1 point. It's basically a pick 'em. I like the Raiders here. Over under set at 49.5. I can see the over hitting here. I think it'd be a sneaky good game. But yeah, I like the Raiders a lot here. You can start Derek Carr. It never feels good doing it, but he does enough. Darren Waller's going to be out, so you can start the backup. Oh my God, why is his name slipping me? Moreau. I can't think of his first name, Moreau. You can start him when Darren Waller's out. They feed him. He gets like 6 or 7 targets, so why not? God, you should be able to start Bryan Edwards, but I'll never recommend him. Start Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs should go off. He's a little banged up, but just keep an eye out. If he's playing, he'll be fine. Otherwise, that's good to go. Washington football team. I would say the same thing about Derek Carr. But Taylor Heineke, you can stream him if you have to. You can start Terry McLaurin for sure. And you start Antonio Gibson if you have him. He always has high touchdown upside, so go ahead and give him the rock, baby. All right, then the next game we had the Jaguars going up against the Rams. We have the Rams as -13 favorites. That's a little high for my liking, especially the way the Rams have been playing. Give me the Jags to cover 13. I think they'll cover 13. It just screams of backdoor. Over under set at 48. I guess I'll take the over there. And then in regards to fantasy, you're going to start Laviska Shenault. You can flex him. Marvin Jones, he's always a deep threat. I don't know. Does Jalen Shadow here? I don't think he has to. They don't have a one. I wouldn't start Marvin Jones. I'd start Shenault. You can honestly probably get away with starting James Robinson, and that's it. Rams side, you're going to start Cooper Kupp. If Darrell Henderson does not play, they're saying he should. I think it's a load of BS. I think it's going to be Sony Michel. And if Darrell Henderson does not play, Sony Michel should lose his mind. So make sure you have him if he's floating around on the waiver wire, because I don't think Darrell Henderson is going to play. I think they're lying. And then the wide receivers, you can start Van Jefferson. You can start Tyler Higbee. It's not like there's a lot of tight ends you are forced to start. So, and Stafford, I know I said all of his weapons, but he's so hurt. I don't really want to play around with Stafford currently, but you can stream him if you have to. All right. And then the next game, we have the Ravens going up against the Steelers. We have Baltimore Ravens -4.5. I don't like that number. If it was 3, I'm Ravens all day. 4.5, I don't like. I'll take the home dogs and the Steelers to cover on just from their defense. TJ Watt may not play now, so that might change things. But I think the Steelers just find a way to make this thing close. And the Ravens can get beat going deep. You always get 1 to 2 big plays on the Ravens, no matter what. They give up like a 50-yard bomb every week. They can't help it. I think it's a requirement to play the game of football. And they have 2 guys in Deontay Johnson. They have 3 guys in James Washington, Deontay Johnson, and Chase Claypool, who love going deep. I know Big Ben can't really get it there, but he can try at least get a PI. So I do like the fact that they go deep, and that's where the Ravens struggle. I like the fact that the Steelers are home. So again, I like the receivers here in fantasy. I like the over 44. I think that number is kind of low for these. So I'll take the Steelers to cover. I don't mind the over. And fantasy perspective, again, you start Deontay and Claypool for sure. James Washington's a stretch. You start Najee Harris and you start Pat Freiermuth. Outside of that, for the Ravens, you start Lamar. You start Mark Andrews, clearly. Their receivers, when Hollywood is healthy, he's good, man. He looked a little banged up last week, but he was out there. So you start Hollywood if he's playing. And Bateman is a target machine, but he's not getting a lot of yards. So we'll see. I'd probably sit on Bateman one more week. All right. And then the next game, we have the 49ers going up against the Seahawks. 49ers is -3 favorites. This is the 49ers without Deebo Samuel, who is like the MVP this year. Seattle at home. I think it's a trap. Give me Seattle. Over under. I know they've looked terrible. They're gonna put it together. They look a little better each week. Over under set at 45.5. I'll still take the under. I think it's going to be a defensive game, and the Seahawks may squeak it out. So give me the under and give me the Seahawks to cover. Fantasy wise, you start Tyler Lockett, you start DK Metcalf, and that's it. You can't start Russ right now until you see it. You can't start Alex Collins or any of the running backs. You just can't do any of that. The tight ends, you might be able to get away with starting Gerald Everett. He's been playing just fine. And that's it for the Seahawks. 49ers with Deebo out. Ayuk might do some damage, so you don't mind starting Ayuk. Elijah Mitchell, I think he got banged up last game too, but I think you still start him if he's playing. Jimmy G's been killing it, but there's no Deebo, so I'll probably just stick with Ayuk and Kittle as the pass catchers, and then of course Elijah Mitchell. And then we have the Sunday night game. We have the Denver Broncos going up against Kansas City Chiefs. We have the Chiefs as -9.5 favorites. I think that's a lot of points personally. So I'll probably take the, oh God, you never know what version of the Broncos are going to show up. The Chiefs don't cover big numbers often. So go ahead and give me the Broncos. I like the Broncos to cover the 9.5 just because the number is so high. Over under at 47. It could be a shootout. I'll take the over. In regards to a fantasy perspective, you start Javonte Williams if Melvin is out. I know he got banged up last game and he's not really practicing that much, but he came back in the game, so he's probably going to play. But if he's out, you start Javonte for sure. And he's a liability to go out in general, so I think you can get away with starting Javonte no matter what. Man. I think you can. This sounds crazy. I think you can start Tim Patrick, and I think you can start Noah Fant. Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton have been something as of late. I can't do it. It's a running team. But then Tim Patrick just keeps finding the end zone, and Noah Fant's been playing fine as of late the last few weeks. So I'd ride those. Kansas City, all your usual suspects. You're going to start. I don't care if they're struggling. I don't care if they lose a game. You start Pat Mahomes. You start Travis Kelce. You start Tyreek Hill. The run game, you can get away with starting Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And then I'd leave it at that. I'm not starting Darrell Williams with Clyde healthy. And I'm leaving it there. And then that takes us to the main event, the game everyone wants to see. And the game some people are calling the best game of the year. We had the New England Patriots going up against the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. And Bills are surprised. I thought the Patriots would be the favorites, but it is the Bills as the -2.5 favorites. Over under set at 43. This is where I have to let the bias aside. I hope the Bills absolutely boat race them, but the Patriots are live dogs here. This is going to play out one of two ways. Either the Bills score first and the Patriots feel obligated to throw. If the Patriots have to throw, I know Trey White is out for the season, but the Bills secondary is still good. They still have Micah Hyde back there. They still have Jordan Poyer. They still have this pass rush that is getting to the quarterback. Everyone is. So if the Patriots are forced to throw, they're going to lose the game. But if the Patriots are in it and they're running the ball, you can kind of run. I know the Bills run defense looks good on paper, but you also have to look at who they're playing against. And when they play a good running team, they get into a little bit of trouble. So if the Bills start off hot, the Patriots are absolutely screwed and the Bills boat race them. If the Patriots score first and get a little bit of a lead, I'm in, and they try to run it out, they will be able to run on the Bills. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't like the over-under. I don't like, if the Bills were the dogs, I'd bet them not, without hesitation. But I don't know. Screw it. I'm going to go ahead and I'll take the Patriots to cover. I'm personally not betting this game, obviously, too much bias. But if I was on an outsider, I would bet the Patriots to cover against the Bills. I would just pick them outright money line because it's one of these two teams are going to dominate. I just have no clue which one. So you might as well take the plus money there, and I would take the Patriots to cover outright. Otherwise, that's week 13. We're hoping to go ahead and smash this week. We're hoping to go ahead and get a ton of money and be ready to do our thing in the following week. Otherwise, we'll catch you.